Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Fortitude Gold Channel, a dividend-producing gold producer targeting strong returns on capital and high margins in mining-friendly Nevada. We have the pleasure to be joined by Jason Reid, the Chief Executive Officer. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Such a pleasure. So we got lots of pretty fascinating stuff on my end to dive down into because you recently released your earnings, and I kind of want to break this down just for the retail audience here, because you guys posted that you're sitting on about 121 million in assets, of which 36 million in cash, pretty robust against 9.5 million in liabilities. Do you want to give a little brief insight on here, what you guys are doing with that cash, and just kind of how that is laid out kind of moving forward?
Sure. Yeah, all our cash comes from our Isabella Pearl mine in Nevada, and we had a great year last year. We actually overshot our production targets, and so we're sitting on 36 million more or less, and we're positioned to build our next mine, which is Golden Mile, and we're nearing the threshold of making a development decision. We're very close, and once we do that, we'll move forward building that. But we believe we can build Golden Mile with the cash flow in our treasury. Keep in mind, all the while, for the next 3 years, we expect windfall profits from Isabella Pearl because we have removed most of the overburden. So waste tons go down dramatically year after year going forward for the next 3 years. And that should translate, for instance, into this year seeing an additional $10 million over last year. So we're in a position to strengthen, I believe, our treasury and build our next project with cash flow with the 36 million. Well, we are financially very strong.
I would agree. I really appreciate those insights. Now, just kind of from the net income standpoint, I mean, you guys did a pretty good job at 2.6 million for Q1 against 2.4 million. You did see a bit of a decline there in the revenue of on that end of it. Do you want to just give a quick idea here from the net sales to that bottom line and just kind of the discrepancy and what you guys are doing?
Sure. It's obviously good insight to look at quarter on quarter, but I wouldn't focus too much on quarter because you have various mining cycles, various areas in the mine in which you're into lower or higher grade. We also blend low grade with high grade. So I think on balance, you should look at closer to the year. And when you look at last year, we were going after 40,000 ounces and we actually hit 45, closer to 46,000. We did that because the tons mined to date are higher grade than the modeled tons show. So this deposit is overperforming, and that's pretty unique in the mining industry. In fact, I would argue it's even more common for groups to go in and mine a deposit, and it's not what they think on the downside, whereas ours is every bit what we think, but it was on the upside. So when we look at this year, we are gating ourselves, if you will, to 40,000 ounces. You could mine this whole deposit in a year if you wanted to, but we want to obviously be a long-term producer in Nevada. So to do that, you have to have enough time to develop your next mine. So I'm actually pulling on the reins a bit to hold back some production, if you will, to keep us at 40,000 ounces. Again, you can mine the whole thing in a year if you chose to. In doing so, it gives us plenty of time to develop, I believe, our next mine, which I mentioned is Golden Mile, I believe. So yeah, quarter on quarter, there's some variations there, but look at the larger trends. We continually position ourselves in the low-cost peer group. We continually to hit our production outlook, and those are the most important things.
That's incredibly insightful. It just kind of shows a lot of control on your end, which is kind of intriguing to say the least. Now, just from kind of a shares outstanding perspective here, do you want to give a little insight on the insider versus institutional and retail, just for anybody that's interested?
Sure. We have about 24 million shares outstanding, and I think is really important for those who don't understand the space. Those that do, this will ring true to them. Most explorers in our space have hundreds and hundreds of millions of shares outstanding. Most producers can have 500 million to 1 billion. We are a producer with just 24 million shares outstanding. So we have one of the tightest capital structures as a producer in the space. And we can talk about how we leverage that into our dividend later if you'd like. But coming back to the shareholders of Fortitude, we estimate 83 to 85% are retail. And many of these investors don't care what we do. They are looking at our 4-cent per share monthly dividend, or 48 cents a year. And right now, the last I looked, you could get 7% yield if you were to enter the stock today. So a lot of shareholders who are looking for gold exposure and a substantial yield and a monthly dividend, we obviously check all those boxes in a unique way, in a substantial way for our space. I am fine at this point in the evolution of our company of not having a lot of funds in yet. They, I believe, will have to come in, especially someday when we uplist. And I believe we'll get a lot of funds at that point. I'm obviously optimistic that they'll be having to buy at a much higher level. But right now, it's the retail driving our share price. And when you look at our performance in 2021 versus our peers, and I have a slide on our PowerPoint deck on our website that shows we outperformed almost all of our peers last year. And I think that just speaks volumes for our strategy, our unique strategy in the business space. And it's also a reflection of our shareholders. They're chasing the yield, and that is reflected in the share price.
I think this is incredibly insightful because from a payout ratio, things are looking fairly robust. Your stock is outperforming the S&P this year. You guys are in an intriguing situation, and it's nice to kind of just get this insight. So I appreciate you coming out today, Jason. I'm going to pass the question off to the viewers at this point. We'd love to know what you guys think about all of this in that comment section below. Consider subscribing because as more news comes down the wire, of course, we'll continue to update you here. But on that note, stay cool, stay awesome. And as always, I look forward to catching you in the next one.